Good morning, and we need to catch up on what we did. So we have looked at the definitions as far as the property, plant, and equipment is concerned, and then we went on to look at the two important formulas, namely the annual depreciation and the depreciation rate. And we also looked at how we calculate the depreciation rate if they give us the useful life, and alternatively, if we are given the depreciation rate, how to calculate the useful life. Okay, all those we have looked at. So let us now quickly, and we also looked at the recognition part of it also. Let us now get on with the depreciation part of it, right? So I also explained to you the depreciation policy. So now we look at the depreciation methods, right? So we'll just first run through the theory and then we'll get on with the examples to understand what it is, right? So there are multiple depreciation methods available in the accounting field. But what I have listed here is basically the methods that the companies would prefer. Okay, so different kind of businesses would prefer one of these kind of methods across all categories of assets, or they might take an option to select different kinds to different class of assets. When I say different class of fixed assets means you will have land and building. So for land and building, you can choose one method. For furniture or maybe for equipment, you can choose another method. And for computer equipment, you might choose another method. So that is also possible. Need not be a single method for all. Okay, so you can go for that, or you can opt for different methods. So starting on with the first method that we call it as the straight line method. So what do we do here? A fixed percentage of the original cost of the asset is written off as depreciation in each accounting period. So now we know what is this cost is, and basically it is, even though we say original cost, ultimately it turns out to be the depreciable amount. Please make a note of that. It will be the depreciable amount. So what you do, you allocate a fixed percentage of the depreciable amount to be written off as depreciation in the P&L for each accounting period. Okay, for each accounting period. So what do you mean by that? You will be given a depreciation rate, that is the percentage. So you take a percentage of your depreciable amount and you allocate that to the P&L over the lifetime of the asset. And what you do is you will allocate a certain sum to each accounting period. So depreciation is thereby, we call it as annual depreciation. Every financial year, we will review and allocate a certain amount of depreciation for the fixed asset. Okay. Then we call, it is widely a popular method, which is known as the reducing balance or diminishing balance method. Okay, reducing balance or diminishing balance method. Now what here happens is, earlier you were depreciating based on the depreciable amount. Now here it is not the depreciable amount. It will be the net book value. It will be the net book value. So what do you mean by net book value? Net book value is your cost of the asset minus accumulated depreciation. So what will happen to the accumulated depreciation? Each year it will increase. Each year it will increase. So when you take cost minus accumulated depreciation, that will be your net book value. Now this net book value is going to get reduced each and every year. I'm talking about a single asset, because when you consider a pool of assets, now last time it might be having a value, but this time a new asset would have come. We are not looking at that. When you take a single asset, fixed asset, And if you try to depreciate it over the period using the reducing balance, what does it mean? The net book value will continuously reduce. That is why we call it as a diminishing balance or reducing balance method. Anyway, I will do the example so that you will understand. Then there is another method which is called the sum of years digits method. This is an estimate. Based on the useful life, we will calculate a number, and based on that number, we will accumulate depreciation. That is what we will do. So it is not based on any percentage or anything. It is somewhat a factor. So sum of digits is like a factor of what you define as the useful life. So I will let you know the formula, and based on that we will do. Then the machine hour rate method. So this is like I told you, for manufacturing organizations, when they get down large machinery, these machineries are also subject to wear and tear. So when they are subject to wear and tear, we need to depreciate them. Now, what is the mechanism that we adopt there is probably the machine hour rate. Now, what do you mean by machine hour rate is depreciation is going to be computed based on the depreciable cost per machine hour. How long the machine will be working, based on that I will depreciate. Now here again, what will happen is they will give you a full capacity. As I told you earlier, the seller of the machine might give you up until 200,000 hours, this machine will not have any problem. They will say like that. So what do you mean by that? Basically, that is what your estimated useful life is. So here it is not in terms of number of years, but in terms of number of hours. 200,000 hours or maybe 100,000 hours, whatever, we don't know. So based on that number, what you will do, as and when you are using the machine, you need to have the time calculator. That is how long you have to use the machine. If the machine has worked for 8 hours today, likewise, you need to see how many hours this machine has worked for the month. And accordingly, we will allocate the depreciation. Okay, we will do an example. And the last method is the revaluation method. So revaluation method is, this is not relating to the same as what we used earlier. Revaluation method is where asset is valued at the beginning and end of the accounting period, and the difference is considered to be depreciation. You see? No, this is not practically done because companies, if they want to take a valuation, it will be totally different to this, because they will go into the methodology of taking revaluation model. So when you take revaluation model, what will happen? Depending on the type of asset, you will do it. So land and buildings, when you adopt revaluation model, the depreciation is not a matter. But you can use the revaluation method for something like a computer, where you don't want to use the other 4 methods, but you want to do the revaluation method. So you get a professional valuer to value your computer asset at the beginning of the year as well as at the end of the year. Now the problem is to get valuations done every, now this will be like every year. So when you do for one particular year, at the end of the one particular year means that is the opening value for the next year. So every year getting down a valuation done for an asset which is of this kind other than land and buildings will be not worth. So people might not prefer revaluation method as a best option. Okay. So what we do here is basically the first 4 method will be the much more preferred method. But in addition to that, you can have production units method. That is, I told you how many units you have produced. Based on that, you will calculate depreciation. Okay, right. Now, what do? We do, and also we will look at the advantages and disadvantages. When it comes to straight line method, it is very simple and easy method. You will see that and it is suitable for assets which have a specific effective lifespan at the end of which the written down value will approach to 0. Disadvantage is in case the asset is used beyond its effective life, it will be unusual to show the net book value as 0. So this happens in organizations. What they do is, you might estimate the lifetime of an asset to be 5 years, let's say. So by the time you reach 5 years, what will happen? The asset is fully depreciated. So your cost is, let's say, 100,000. By the end of 5 years, your depreciation is also 100,000. That is the accumulated depreciation. Now, what is your net book value? Net book value is 0. But even though your net book value is 0, you will be still using this asset. And it must be in a usable condition also. So when such a situation happens, the straight line method might not be that much more appropriate. We might say that much more not appropriate. But generally what people do is they will use the straight line method because it is very simple and an easy method. Okay. They also say calculation will not be simple when addition and disposal of assets are involved, which we will look at later. When it comes to the reducing balance, again, it is very easy. Suitable for assets which have a lifespan exceeding the expected effective life. So this is one method that you can use for assets going beyond the expected useful life, because the value doesn't become 0. Okay. And then sum of years digits method, where we will use a formula here. I think most of you all might have seen this formula when you were learning mathematics, maybe in grade 6 or 7. You might have seen this formula, which is n into n plus 1 divided by 2. So we will make use of that formula to calculate a factor. Based on that factor, you will depreciate the asset. Okay. Now the problem here is the arbitrary nature of weights used is always based on subjective, which means the factor, you will see that what we are going to use, that factor may not be a real estimate of what you want to depreciate. Okay. So whatever said and done, this method is also widely used. People widely use this because it is a scientific method. Then machine hour rate method. Again, the advantage at the end of the total number of machine hours, the written down value will reach 0. Depreciation is linked to the output attained. Very important, that is. Now, as long as your machine is working, what do you mean by that? You are producing. So your depreciation is provided based on your production. But we don't link it to the number of units, but the number of hours the machine is working. Okay. So as I told you, the disadvantage is basically you can use this for machinery, but you can't apply it to some assets. Like, can you look at it using for a computer? Because it is not applicable, because computers, you can't measure the time when and when I am using it. No, it's not applicable. So it's basically in manufacturing organization, they use it for machinery only. They can't use it for any other kind of assets. Now, this is one important aspect. The accounting journals, we call that as a journal. So you need to know, because in exams, what happens, sometimes you are requested to record the journal. So the first table, that is accounting for assets. When you say accounting for assets, it is when you purchase or bring in an asset to the business. Or sometimes what happens, you will bring in additional costs to the fixed asset. So at that time, how will you record it? You have to record it by debiting the fixed asset account. Say you will say motor vehicle account, or computer equipment account, or land account, or building account. And you will credit the vendor. Vendor means who is selling the asset to you, from where you have purchased the asset. So you will credit vendor's account, or in other words, when you purchase an asset, what will happen? debit assets, credit cash or bank. Why? You have to pay for it. So instead of paying cash or bank only, here it is mentioned as vendor. So you don't have to worry. Even if you say cash here, it will be correct. When it comes to the depreciation, so as I told you, you will have to charge the depreciation to your P&L. So debit is depreciation expense account. So you can say depreciation motor vehicle, depreciation expense motor vehicle account. And similarly, you have to credit provision for depreciation motor vehicle account, or maybe building account. Okay. So sorry about it. Sorry. So accounting for assets and depreciation will be debit fixed asset, credit cash or bank, or maybe you can call it as vendor. When it comes to the depreciation, debit depreciation and credit provision for depreciation account. Okay, right. Now we'll get on to the questions, or in other words, examples, right? Now have a look at this question. Have a look at this question. So ABC company has purchased a furniture. And the cost of the furniture is rupees 400,000. Okay. And they have purchased on 2nd April 2015. So date of purchase 2nd April 2015. The expected lifespan is 8 years. So useful life 8 years. It is assumed to have a zero salvage value. So there is no residual value. Salvage value means there is no residual value. So all the factors are given. Calculate the annual depreciation. Calculate the accumulated depreciation. So there are two questions. One is calculate the annual depreciation, and the second one is calculate the accumulated depreciation as at 31/12/2017. 31/12/2017. Right? See whether you can do it. So now I hope you can see the board. Okay. Now in exams, what do we do here is actually, please follow. You can see the board, right? Is the board visible? Right. Now in exams, what you need to do is when you read the question, you need to take down points. You can write these in the answer book itself. You put the question number and you take the key points from the question. Cost is 400,000, date of purchase is this, useful life 8 years, residual value 0, and we have been asked to calculate depreciation up to 31st December 2017. Okay. Why I am proposing to do that is because then we don't need to go back over and over again to look at the question. Now I have seen candidates when I do this course in the classroom and I ask them to do a question. What happens is they repeatedly go back and look at the question again and again to see what have they asked, what is the information that is required. No, you don't need to do that as long as you bring everything into the paper as a summary, so that we don't have to go back to the question one again and again to look at what have they asked. Not required. I have all the piece of information here, right? Okay. Now our duty is to calculate the depreciation. Now you have to be mindful that this question is from 2015 they have purchased and they are asking for 2017. So now if you look at what we do is we draw a timeline. We call this as a timeline. Okay. How the timeline would be? That is from the start of the asset. That is from the start of the asset. That is 2nd April 2015 will be my starting point. So I call that as t equals 0. Time is 0. Right? Then, secondly, I need to figure out what is the financial year end of this asset or this company or of this business. When are they closing their financial year? Can somebody tell me? What is the financial year end of this company?
March.
31st?
March.
31st March. Why did you say 31st March?
31st of December.
31st of December. So why did you say 31st of December? You need to have the reason or you need to know the reason. You can't just say, give an answer. Why it is 31st December? How did you determine that?
Because they asked to prepare depreciation as at 31st of December.
Very good. Now that is why this information is very important. You see, this 31st December 2017 is very important because of that. Otherwise, we will be confused when this financial year is ending. Whether it is 31st March or 30th June or 30th September, we have a problem here. But the sooner you see this 31st December 2017, it gives you an indication that their financial year closes on 31st December. Okay, so every year 31st December they close the financial year. So when you purchase as an asset on 2nd April 2015, your first financial year end will come on 31st December 2015. Is that understood? Okay, so I call that as t equal 1, just for our understanding. T equal 1. Then my second financial year will come in 31/12/16. That will be my t equals 2. And the third one, 31/12/2017. That is my t equal 3. Now the question is up to that point. I don't have to worry about beyond that. Theoretically, this asset has a useful life of 8 years. So what will happen? It will go on like this. It will go on like this. Until when? Until when? I will take a little bit of time explaining this question because this is the first one that you are doing and we need to understand. So until when this will go on like this?
23.
23? Sure. When?
2nd April. Second April.
Yeah. So basically, if you look at the real 8-year period, this will have to end in 2023, 1st of April. Am I correct? Okay, just before one day. We don't go to the same day, just before one day, we assume that it is fully depreciated or the lifetime is over. Like, so that is a different story. We will come to this. So now, according to the question, you have the first financial year, second financial year, and the third financial year. Because they have requested you to calculate depreciation up to 31st December 2007. So you see, I am putting everything in a diagram so that we can understand better. Now, even in exams, you can do this, no problem. But you can't be wasting a lot of time on this. Quickly, you have to understand and put this. Okay, right. Now, what else is missing in this question? You need another important piece of information for you to calculate the depreciation. What is that? What is that? There is another important piece of information is missing. Can someone tell me? I explained this.
Depreciation rate?
No, I told you all depreciation rate is not required. Why? If you have the useful life, you know how to calculate the depreciation rate. Or if you are given the depreciation rate, you know how to calculate the useful life. So depreciation rate is not an issue as long as we have the useful life.
Depreciation method.
Depreciation
Method.
Okay, that is one. Then, of course, now in this question we are learning it under straight line method now. Okay. So in this question, if you look at the slide, go to the slide. I have given this question under straight line method. Okay. So you don't have to worry about it. You assume that it is straight line method. There is one important matter. We learned it last week. What is that? Anyone? Residual value, I told you, residual value is 0. They have said salvage value is 0. Now, in this question, the depreciation policy is silent. Did you notice that? Depreciation policy is silent. That is, you don't know whether I need to depreciate full in the first year or there is no depreciation in the first year, or what should I do with the depreciation at the end of the year? I don't know anything, isn't it? Am I correct? The depreciation policy is silent. So what did I tell you? When the depreciation policy is silent, what should you do? Anyone?
We apply retrospective way.
Yeah, what do you call that?
Prorate.
What is the method?
Prorate convention.
Prorate convention. That is the term. You have to remember. You have to use the prorate convention. Prorate convention. So what do you mean by that? Prorate convention means assuming that I will depreciate for the period that I have used. Period that I have used. So accordingly, now if you look at it, this is the time period I have used. If you look at the first financial year, which is from January 15 to December 15, but apparently I have not used this asset for the entire year. I have used only for this period. So what is this period? It is about 9 months, you see, including the April month. I don't consider the number of days. So it is basically 9 months. Am I correct? Is that understood? We are going on the prorate convention because there is no depreciation policy. So I assume that I am going to use the prorate convention means I have to assume that I will depreciate only for the number of months I have used. So which is 9 months starting from April. So if you take from April to December, I will be using 9 months. Is that understood? Is that understood, please?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir.
So the rest of the years I don't have a problem because here it is 12 months. Here it is 12 months. And as we go on, it will be like that. Okay? But then again, at the end of the time period, like this, if you really extend it, there will be time periods now. 31st December 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So what will happen? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. When you come to 23, 1st April 2023, okay, and this will be 31st December 22. Now what will happen here? Again, based on the prorate convention, I will not depreciate for 12 months. It will be only 3 months, you have to remember. Because I will cover up the balance 3 months at the end. That is what this policy is. Prorate convention is therefore considering the number of months, or maybe say the period that you have actually used it. So I have purchased it from 1st of April or 2nd of April. Now here using it or not is a different story. But the moment you say my date of purchase is 2nd of April, from that point onwards the depreciation starts. So accordingly, in the first financial year, I will depreciate only 9 months. And in the last financial year, I will depreciate only for 3 months. Is that understood? Is that understood? Right.
Yes,
If that is the case, let us now calculate the depreciation. So I will call that, this is AD1, okay, or let's call annual depreciation 1, annual depreciation 2, annual depreciation 3. I'm looking at the financial years. So annual depreciation 1 is the depreciable amount. What do you mean by depreciable amount? Cost minus residual value. Cost is 400,000. Residual value is 0 into depreciation rate. Now what is the depreciation rate? I don't have the depreciation rate. So what should I do? Using the useful life, I can calculate the depreciation rate. Okay? But I don't need to do it because as long as it is 8 years, I can divide this by 8. Okay? But the problem here is, now this is the annual depreciation. But please make a note, I don't have to provide depreciation for 12 months. It's only 9 months. So what should I do? 9 divided by 12. Is that point understood? When you look at the depreciation, annual depreciation for this period, if you are looking at 12 months, this is what it is. What I have boxed in red is that. But the problem here is, in this first financial year, I need to depreciate only for 9 months. So what am I calculating here is for 12 months. So what I do, I divide it by 12 and multiply it by 9. And now I get the answer. What is the answer? So now you can do it. Take down.
37,500.
37,500. Is that correct? $37,500. So that is AD1. What is AD2? That is again 400,000 into 400,000 minus 0 into 1/8. Now here I don't have a problem because I'm using it for 12 months. I'm using it for 12 months. So straight away it will be 50,000. 50,000. Annual depreciation too, that is for the second financial year is 50, and obviously for the third financial year also it will be 50, right? So now what is the accumulated depreciation? So first part we have answered, the annual depreciation will be 50,000. That is clear now? Annual depreciation will be 50,000. So every year generally you need to depreciate for 50,000, but for the first year we have to be mindful that it is only for 9 months, right? Now when you answer the second part, that is accumulated depreciation, what will happen? 37,500 plus 50,000 plus another 50,000. So it will be 137,500. Is that understood? Accumulated depreciation. Accumulated depreciation. Accumulated depreciation up to 31/12/2070 will be AD1 plus AD2 plus AD3. So which means 37,500 plus 50 plus 50, which gives you 137,000. Is that understood? Is it clear? Have you all understood that, please?
Yes, sir.
Right. So, in examination, if it is a multiple choice question, please make a note of this. If it is a multiple choice question, you don't need to go into this extent, right? Showing these every working and everything, you can cut down and do it, right? So, please be mindful. That is very important. In examination, if it is an essay type question, for example, if let's say it's coming as a separate question in your part 2. Part 2 means, what I'm saying is part 2 means not on the multiple choice, one of the essay type questions for 20 marks. Then you have to do this, because this will be your workings for you to earn marks. But on the MCQ, you can cut down. You don't need to draw a diagram. For your understanding, you can do it. But it's very important that you need to save time. So for MCQ, you shouldn't be wasting a lot of time. Okay, so there you can cut down and do the working, but still you need to show the workings to earn marks. It will be only 2 marks, but still you need to show the working. So you can cut down and show. But when it is an essay type question, it's better for you to do this so that you will earn the required marks. Okay, right. So that is on straight line method, right? Straight line method. Now let's go to the second one, which is the reducing balance method. Reducing balance method. Read the question. Okay, so XYZ company purchase equipment for rupees 600,000. So you remember that this is under reducing balance method. Huh? So you don't think that the method is not given. So it is the reducing balance method. Equipment for 600,000 on 1/5/2014, assuming a rate of depreciation 20%. So if it is 20%, how many years useful life? Quickly.
5.
5. Then the question is, calculate the depreciation for every year up to 31st December 2017. They are asking for every year, remember. Calculate the accumulated depreciation up to December 2017. Right. So now let's look at it on the board. Right. Now I have captured the information. XYZ company, cost is 600,000. Date of purchase is 2014, 1st of May. Depreciation rate is 20%. And they have not said anything about the residual value. So we will assume that the residual value is 0. Okay. If they have not given the residual value, you assume that the residual value could be 0. So even under the reducing balance method, you don't have to look at this also. Don't worry about it. Right? Okay. Now let's quickly draw the timeline. So the first point, that is t equals 0, will be 1st of May 2014. Right? And the question obviously is asking for December time period. So first financial year, sorry, t equal 1, 31st December 2014. T equal 2, 31st December 2015. T equal 3, 31st December 2016. And t equals 4, which is our question, 31st December 2017. And you will have 4 financial years leading up to this. So I will mark those as AD 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. And please remember, this is under reducing balance. Reducing balance. Okay, right. So let's calculate AD1. AD1. Now, I told you that here it will be based on reducing balance, means you have to calculate the depreciation based on the net book value. Net book value. Please remember, net book value at the end of each accounting period. At the end of each accounting period. So, now what is the net book value I use here at this point? So, which means the net book value as at this point. Clearly understand that when you complete the first financial year, your depreciation will be based on the net book value that you had in the last year. Okay, so I will call this as net book value 0, which means the time equals 0. This will be net book value 1, net book value 2, and net book value 3. Okay, so when I calculate the accumulated depreciation 1, my net book value 0 into, what does the definition says? It is a fixed percentage, they say. It is a fixed percentage of the reducing balance. Go back to the definition and see. It is a fixed percentage of the reducing balance. Earlier it was the depreciable amount. Now here they are talking about you take the net book value of the previous year and apply the fixed percentage. So it will be 20%. It will be 20%. Is that understood? Is it clear? If you have a question, please ask. Or you can send me a chat also. We have any messages? So basically, what do you mean by net book value at this point? It is the cost. Okay, let me explain it again. Up to this point, I think you would have understood how to determine the financial years. Okay. Now, if I am to calculate the annual depreciation 1, that is for this time period, I need to make use of the net book value at this point. What is the net book value at this point means? It is what is coming from the previous year. What is coming from, because I am going to depreciate, I am going to provide depreciation only at this year now. So for me to provide depreciation here, I need to take the net book value here, which is NBV 0, and apply the percentage. Okay. So when I take that net book value means that is cost minus accumulated depreciation will be confusing, right? I will call it as accumulated depreciation. Huh? Accumulated depreciation 0 into 20%. So what do you mean by that? I'll just do one and then we will go into others. Huh? So net book value 0 means cost minus accumulated depreciation at time 0 at this point into 20%. So what is your cost? Cost is 600,000 minus, at this point there is no depreciation, so it will be 0 into, so 600,000 into 20% is how much? That is 120,000. But now we have made a mistake. What is the mistake? What is the mistake? In the first financial year, how many months you have used? Only 8 months. Only 8 months. Can you remember that? We are using the pro-rate convention because there is no policy given. So if you consider it, out of the 12 months, I am using only the 8 months period. So if I am to calculate the depreciation for the first period, I have to calculate it only for 12 months. Sorry, 8 months. Okay. So now what is the answer? It will be 80,000. Is that clear? This is very important. So in examination, you don't need to look at all these, right? You don't have to write each and line, every line here. What you have to remember is what is the net book value? Net book value is cost minus accumulated depreciation. So you can straight away go into this line. Now, why I am writing all this is just to make you understand. But in examination, you don't need to write all these. If you want, if you know what you are doing, you take the cost at this point and accumulated depreciation at this point and multiply it by 20 and 8 by 2. Okay. Now let's go to the depreciation pertaining to the second financial year. Second financial, that is for this period. Okay. Right. Now this you have to understand clearly. There is no confusion. It is for 12 months, so you don't have to worry. Now, accumulated depreciation 2, oh sorry, not accumulated, annual depreciation 2, that is for this period, will be equivalent to the net book value at this point. Net book value at this point. So what is the net book value at this point now? The cost remains no change, 600,000. When you come to this point, you have already depreciated for the last year. So which means you have an accumulated depreciation. Am I clear? You already have a depreciation for one accounting period. So now the net book value 1 will be cost minus your accumulated depreciation as at end of the last year. What was that? That was 80,000. Now this is what? You are reducing balance. You are reducing balance. So you have the cost. But when you reach this point, you need to take out the depreciation what you have provided already. So up to this point, I have provided only 80,000. Now only I am going to provide this. So into 20%. Into 20%. Is that understood? Is that understood? When you reach this point, t equals 2, you have to look at the net book value. What is the net book value? Cost minus accumulated depreciation up to last year. So which means my first financial year, which is only 80,000. Okay. So NBV 1 will be cost minus accumulated depreciation as at 2014. So I think what is the amount here? Answer?
104,000.
104?
104,000, I think.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. 104,000. Now you see, in the first financial year, if you look at the 12-month period, the depreciation was 120,000. Okay. So from that 120,000, we allocated only 80,000 for this particular period because it was on 8-month period. But when you go to here, theoretically, it should have been 120,000 because it was 12 months. But what is the amount that you are getting? It's only 104,000. Now this is the difference between going into the straight line method and the reducing balance method. Under the straight line method, in every financial year, other than the first financial year, if you are going by the prorate method, in every other financial year, the annual depreciation will be equal. Now here, it will not be equal in any financial year. It will be always different to what you had last year. Why? Because you are already going on the reducing balance method. Under the straight line method, this amount is already fixed. Every year this is fixed. But here it is not going to be because this is going to change year by year. So you don't get the same answer every financial year. Okay. So now we have calculated annual depreciation 1, annual depreciation 2. Let's go to the third one. Annual depreciation 3. Now when you go to annual depreciation 3, that is this point, t equals 3. T equals 3 means you have to calculate the net book value 2. Now what is net book value 2? Net book value 2. That is where the problem is. Now we have to watch carefully. Net book value 2 is 600,000 is your cost minus what is your accumulated depreciation that you will use at this point. It will be whatever the depreciation that you have provided up to this. That is 81 plus 82. You understand that? Your net book value is at this point cost minus accumulated depreciation. So what is cost? 600,000. What is accumulated depreciation? 81 plus 82. Because I am trying to calculate 83. So 83 is not considered. 81 plus 82. So which means 80,000 plus 104,000 into 20%. Into 20%. Is that understood? Cost minus accumulated depreciation. So what is accumulated depreciation? This is 81. This is 82. So as you go on, you will add 83, 84. So what is the depreciation? That is 600,000 minus 184,000 into 20%.
$83,200.
It will be 83,200. Correct. Now see what is happening. In the first year, you had 80,000. That is because you have used only for 8 months. But when you go to the second year, you had 12 months, used 12 months. But you had a depreciation of 104,000. When you go to the third year, what is happening? Again, you have used it for 12 months, but your depreciation is only 83,200. So what is happening with your depreciation? Year by year, the depreciation is also coming down. The depreciation is also coming down. Okay? So now I want you to calculate AD4. Can you give a try quickly? AD4. I will leave it to you all. But I need to get the answer now. See whether you can get the answer. What is the answer? So it has to be, what is the answer? 66,560. Yes, I think it's correct. But let's look at it quickly. So what will happen here? When you go to AD4, AD4 is net book value 3. So net book value 3 means you have to consider one more depreciation, that is plus 83,200 into 20%. So accumulated depreciation will go up by one more year. So now you will have 66,560. So the first part of the question is done, where they wanted us to calculate the depreciation, annual depreciation for each financial year up to 31st December 2017. So 81, 82, 83, 84, we have calculated. Second part of the question is to calculate the accumulated depreciation. What you need to do? Add all four, and that will be your answer for the second part. Okay. So I'm told that the answer is 333,760. Hope it's correct. So that means these three plus this. 267. Yeah, I think it's correct. Okay. Right. So let's quickly go to the next method. Sum of years digits method. So it is PQR company. Purchase and computer equipment for 180,000. And on 1/1/2016. 1/1/2016. Assuming a lifespan of 5 years. So useful life is 5 years. 5 years means like 20%. Calculate the depreciation for every year up to 31/12/2017. Okay. Calculate the depreciation leading up to 31/12/2017. And calculate the accumulated depreciation also. Calculate the accumulated depreciation also. Right. Okay. So now here we are talking about a sum of digits method. Sum of digits method. So before going into the sum of digits method, right, I want you to show this slide. So what did the sum of digits method say? You need to calculate a factor to allocate depreciation. In order to calculate this factor, you need to calculate a number which is called the sum of digits. Which is called the sum of digits. Sum of digits. So how do we calculate the sum of digits? How do we calculate the sum of digits? Right? So how do we calculate the sum of digits is sum of digits is equivalent to n divided by 2 n plus 1. This is a formula that you would have seen when you are doing mathematics in grade 6, 7 or maybe 8. You have seen. Now what do they say? N divided by 2 n plus 1, and they say this n is the useful life. N is the useful life. So what do you mean by that? In this case, I need to calculate the sum of digits, which is using the useful life of 5 years. So what do? 5 divided by 2 into 5 plus 1. So which means I get a number, sum of digits, 15. Sum of digits is 15. Okay. So what you do first is you need to calculate the sum of digits. So look at how to calculate the sum of digits. Sum of digits is calculated using the number of years that is given to me. So the number of years given to me is considered as n, and I will calculate depreciation based on that number. Is that clear? Right. So now in any what do you call that? In any formula, if you are given a useful life, you have to calculate first the sum of digits, right? So I hope you have taken down. Now let's go to the timeline, which is t equals 0 on, that is 1/1/16, and they are asking for 31st December 2017. So I have t equal 1 and t equal 2. That is straightforward. Only 2 financial years that they are talking about. Okay, right. So annual depreciation 1, annual depreciation 2. That's it. Okay. So here what do we do is, now you have calculated the sum of digits. I am taking that also. Sum of digits is 15. So my requirement here is now to depreciate this asset for the first year, that is AD1. AD1, what do I do is, I will go on the same principle. Cost minus residual value into, now here it is not the depreciation rate or the reducing balance method or the useful life. I'm not going to use that. What I'm going to use is n divided by sum of digits. This formula that you have to remember. N divided by sum of digits. N divided by sum of digits. So here in this case, since it is on 1/1/2016, we have a full year depreciation, that is 12 months. Even if you think about the prorate convention, you don't have a problem because it covers 12 months. So you don't have to prorate again for the number of months. Okay. So here, when I calculate 180,000 minus 0, the residual value, into what is n? N is 5 here. Useful life. Divided by sum of digits is 15. So you will get an answer of 60,000. Is that correct? Cost minus residual value into this part you have to remember. In the first financial year, it will be n divided by sum of digits. N divided by sum of digits. N divided by sum of digits. Okay. Now let's try to calculate the second year. Now let's calculate the second year. AD2. So again, cost minus residual value, but now it is not n. It will be n minus 1. N minus 1. Now what do you mean by n minus 1? N minus 1 means 5 minus 1. 5 minus 1. So how much you get? It will be, what is the answer? 48,000? Yes, 48,000. So you see, first year, even though I am using 12 months, I had 60,000. When I went to the second year, it is only 48,000. So what is happening here? Now the depreciation is coming down based on this factor, because in the first year, I had this to be n divided by the sum of digits. When I go to the second year, it is n minus 1 divided by sum of digits. So if I go to the third year, what will happen? It will be n minus 2 divided by sum of digits. N minus 2 sum of digits. So the next year n minus 3. After that n minus 4. Thereafter you can't go to n minus 5 because it will be 0. So up to n minus 4 it will go. Okay. So what I want you to do now is, just for knowledge, let us try to calculate AD3. AD3 quickly. What is the answer for AD3? I want you to calculate AD3. What is the answer? So AD3 means this will be not n minus 1 but n minus 2. If it is n minus 2, this is 5 minus 2. So you should get an answer 36,000. 36,000. Okay. So that is about sum of digits. Sum of years digits method. Sum of years digits method. Okay. So that is the third method that we looked at. Sorry. Next one, we are going to look at the machine hour rate method. Machine hour rate method. Read the question. So as I told you, look at this question. This is a company where they have purchased a machinery which is worth 600,000. 600,000. And they say it is expected to run 50,000 hours, after which the salvage value will be 100,000. Now here there is a problem. What do you mean by salvage value? That is the residual value. So here the question does have a residual value which is 100,000. And they also say, just like the expected life or the useful life of in the other scenarios, other methods, here they say it is expected to run 50,000 hours, after which the salvage value. So what do you mean by that? Residual value means the expected, after the expected useful life only you get the residual value. So here also the expected useful life will be not in terms of number of years, but in terms of number of hours. That is why we call this as machine hour rate method. So here the expected useful life is 50,000 hours. Okay. What is the first part of the question? They want us to calculate the depreciation per machine hour. The depreciation per machine hour. Depreciation per machine hour. And then they also want us to calculate if the machine was run for 20,000 hours and 18,000 hours. So maybe the first year they have run for 20,000 hours, and in the second year they have run for 18,000 hours. Now we don't know for how many years they are going to run. That is irrelevant to us. Why? Because we are going by the useful life of machine hours. So what we have here is a machine which is costing 600,000, a residual value of 100,000, and its useful life is 50,000 hours. So they want us to calculate two things. One is the depreciation per machine hour, and then if this machine run for 20,000 hours and 18,000 hours, what will be the depreciation for the respective years? So let's say this is for year 1 and this is for year 2. So don't worry here because they have not talked about the year of purchase, right? Whether you need to do the prorate convention or not. All those information are not available. So you don't have to worry. If those are given, then you have to think about it, how you will do. So first we have to calculate depreciation per machine hour. So how do you calculate that? That is cost minus residual value divided by, simple as, the useful life. This is our formula, standard formula. That doesn't have a difference. So here 600,000 minus 100,000, the residual value. And now comes the problem. The useful life is not in terms of number of years. It will be number of hours, which is 50,000 hours. 50,000 hours. Okay. So when you have 50,000 hours means 600,000 minus 100,000 is how much? 500,000. 500,000. 500,000. So when you divide that by 50,000 means what you get? Your depreciation will be 10 rupees per hour. This you have to remember how to write. So what do you mean by that? Every hour when you use it, you have to allocate depreciation of 10 rupees. You see? Looks like a small number. What will happen? You will use it for long hours. It's not a small number of hours that you will use. It will be a large number. So the depreciation per hour is what is the question is. So when you calculate, the answer that you get is 10 rupees per machine hour. So you have to depreciate. You have to allocate depreciation of 10 rupees when you use 1 hour. So likewise, every financial year you have to see what is the number of hours this machine is going to be used. So accordingly, the year one depreciation would be rupees, sorry, you have used 20,000 hours into 10 rupees per hour, which will give you rupees 200,000. Then when you go to year two depreciation, it will be 18,000 hours into rupees 10 per hour, which will give you rupees 100. So simple as that. So the machine hour rate method is very straightforward and very simple, but the problem is you can't use it everywhere. You can't use it everywhere. That you have to remember. Right? Is that understood, the machine hour rate method? Because that is very straightforward, but you need to understand the logic, how to calculate the depreciation per machine hour and the rest of it. Okay? So that is all about depreciation, the methods, and how you calculate depreciation, right? Okay. So now let's go on with the lesson and we'll have to finish it off somehow. The revaluation model. So when it comes to the valuation of assets, I told you, you can use the cost model or the revaluation model. Okay. So cost model means you continue the assets at the value of cost. You can continue to have the cost value as your asset value. But if you decide to revalue, then you have to use the revaluation model. So what do you mean by that? The market value of land and building usually represents fair value, assuming existing use and line of business. So when it comes to revaluation, generally people used to revalue the land and buildings, but not the other assets like furniture, computer. Those you don't go to revalue generally. But if you want, you can do it. Okay. In the case of property, plant and equipment, fair value can also be taken as the market value. So I have explained what is fair value, what is market value, everything is already explained. Most importantly, when an item of property, plant and equipment is revalued, the whole class of assets to which it belongs to should be revaluated. I'll explain that. Revaluation shall be made regularly enough so that the carrying amount approximates to fair value at the reporting date. Okay, right. Now let me explain you the revaluation and then we'll get on with the retirement and disposal. Okay. So I want you to take down whatever that I'm going to explain on the board. Okay, right. Let's look at revaluation. So when you look at the revaluation, generally we talk about revaluation of land and revaluation of building. Those are the two major ones. I'm not talking about the other assets like computer and that and this. Okay, right. Let's assume you are a company and you have your own properties. You have your own properties which are classified under property, plant and equipment. So let's say you have land A, B, C and D. For simple they are taking, right? Then let's assume the carrying value, that is what is the value that you are having in your books now. So let me put 7 million, 4 million, 12 million and 20 million. I'm just taking numbers, huh? Right. Similarly, building values, I'm talking about building values. Let's say 3 million, 8 million. I'll take some larger numbers, 17, 14, like that. 14, 8. C gives you 5 million and D 15 million, right? So these are the numbers. So basically your land and building A is about 20 million, B is about 22, C is about 17 and D is about 35. But for revaluation purposes, these two are looked at separately. You don't have to group it together. Okay, right. Now the company or let's say the bank decides to revalue these assets. Revalue these assets as at 31/12/2020. 31/12/2020. So what do? You get down a professional valuer certified by Central Bank to do the revaluation of this property. Okay, right. Now when you get the revaluation, now the valuer is giving some values to you. Okay, 25 million, 20 million, 10 million, 30 million. And here, in terms of buildings, 5 million, 12 million, 3 million, and 20 million. Okay, I'm just taking some numbers, don't worry about it. So now if you look at it, when you compare, the value has gone up, value has gone up, value has come down, value has gone. Here also, value has gone up, come down. This is the situation. So once you get the valuation reports and look at the numbers, you observe that out of the 4 buildings that you have, land and buildings, this building C, the values have come down. Values have come down. But the rest is gone up. Rest has gone up. So it is like the value coming down is a problem to you, but value going up is favorable to you. So what you are deciding is I have done a revaluation. I will take only A, B, and D. I'm going to leave out C. I don't want C because value has gone down. So according to the standards, you can't do that. When you are revaluing your assets, you have to revalue all the entire class of assets, Whether you like it or not, it doesn't matter. Whether the value has gone up or gone down, it doesn't matter. You have to value all the properties. And whatever the changes that have happened in value, you have to consider that in your financial statements. So you can't say that whatever that is favorable to me, I will take, rest I will leave out. No, that you can't do. So in accounting, you need to consider the entire class of asset, irrespective of whether you like it or not, or whether the value has gone up or not. It doesn't matter. Same with building also. If you want, you have to do all the land and buildings. That is point number 1. Then secondly, the bare minimum valuation should happen once in 3 years. Once in 3 years. That is a must. Once in 3 years, a valuation should happen. But if you think the values of the land and buildings are changing every other year because the market conditions are such, then you have to do the valuation every year, every financial year, because if you think that the market value is changing every year, okay? But we have to be mindful that doing a valuation every year is also very costly. Okay, so you can, as an organization, you cannot be paying these valuers every financial year a large amount of cost. So that's why companies normally do the valuation at least once in 3 years. That you have to be mindful about. Okay. Okay. Please, I hope you have taken down, or you need separate time. If you want, you can take a photograph and then later on you can take down in your notes. Okay. Let's quickly proceed. Now, what has happened here? If you look at it, here the value has gone up by 8 million. Here 6 million. Here it has come down by 2 million. You have to remember. Then here 10 million. Here it has gone up by 2 million. 4 million. It has come down by 2 million. Gone up by 5 million. Okay. Now, what do you mean by that? According to the valuation that we have received, here we have a revaluation gain. I am marking it with G. Gain. Okay. G is gain. And I will mark L to be loss. So you have a revaluation gain of 8 million. Revaluation gain of 6 million. Revaluation loss of 2 million, revaluation gain of 10 million. And here, revaluation gain of 2 million, a gain of 4 million, a loss of 2 million, a gain of 9 million. So ultimately, when you look at the financial statements for the year ended 2020, what will happen? You have 8 and 6 is 14, 14 and 10 is 24, and 24 minus 2 is 22 million, which is an overall gain. See, 8 plus 6 is 14, 14 minus 2, because this is a revaluation loss, so you have to deduct, and then you have a 10, altogether it will be 22. Here also, 2 plus 4 is 6, minus 2, 4, and it will be 9 million. So you have a revaluation gain of 22 million in land and 9 million in this building. 9 million in buildings. Okay. You can take down quickly. Okay. Below that you can write the revaluation, sorry, the results of the revaluation, the results of the revaluation, the results of the revaluation could be accounted as follows, okay, as follows. So what you can do is you can have to now pass a journal entry to this effect. Okay, so if you are looking at these buildings individually, you have to pass entries also, journals also individually. But let's look at the total. So what will happen? Your land value initially was 17, 14, that is 31, 43, 63. But now what is the value? 45, 55, 85. So the value has gone by 22 million. So what do? You will debit your land account by 22 million and you will credit. That is where the important part of it. Now this 22 million is not something that you have in money or cash. This is just a gain or loss, revaluation gain or loss. So in terms of monetary value, you don't have the physical value coming into your books. Don't cash is coming in. It's only an increase in value of your land. So you can realize it only if you sell the land. Now you are not sold it, so it is only an unrealized gain. This unrealized gain should go to the revaluation reserve. We have to create a reserve in the equities called revaluation reserve account. And this 22 million will go there. Okay, that is for the land. Similarly, for the building also, you will debit the building account for 9 million and then credit again goes to revaluation reserve account 9 million. So please take down the two journals, very important. All fair value gain or losses will have to be recorded in the revaluation reserve. Now here, of course, this double entry will be applicable for the total. But if you are considering individually, here it will be debit and credit 8 million debit and credit 6 million. Now here what will happen? This will be the other way around. Why? It's a loss. So debit will be revaluation reserve, credit will be the land account. So you have to remember, this is when there is a gain. This is applicable when there is a gain. If it is a loss, the debit and credit will change. Debit and credit will change. Okay. So please make a note thereafter. The revaluation gains stroke losses or losses are recognized in the equity through other comprehensive income. Okay, so any gains or losses in revaluation will have to be accounted through other comprehensive income. Okay. So we'll get on to the last topic, which is on retirements and disposals. So retirement and disposal means when it comes to fixed assets, sometimes when the asset is used for a longer period, you might sometimes put them away without using it, right? So that is like you will just put it on one side and you will not use it. You will buy a new one and start using it. Now that is called normally retirements. Retirement means you are not using that asset, you are just kept it away. But there are instances where organizations might decide after using it for the useful life or maybe just before that, they might decide, okay, I will need to get rid of this asset now. No need to have it for too long. I want to get rid of this asset. So if I want to get rid of this asset, what do? I will find somebody who is willing to buy this asset. So I will give them to a price where that is called as a disposal of fixed asset. A disposal. We call that as a disposal of fixed asset. Now let me take you through an example. Let's say a company has a motor vehicle. Okay. So the cost of the motor vehicle is, let's say, 6 million. Cost of the motor vehicle is 6 million. And this vehicle has been used for about, let's say, maybe say 3.5 years or maybe 4 years. Okay. So accordingly, accumulated depreciation let's say you are using it for 5 years. 5 years means 1.2. So you have a depreciation of 4.8 million. Okay, 4.8 million. So now this vehicle is now currently at this situation. Cost is 6 million. You have depreciated for about 4 years, which is costing you to about 4.8 million. Now you decided, okay, I'm going to give up this asset. I don't want it here in after. I will need to buy a new one. So I will find a buyer. And this buyer is willing to give you, let's say, 2.5 million. 2.5 million. So he is going to give you rupees 2.5 million and take this asset away. That we call it as sale proceeds. Sale proceeds. Because you are doing a disposal or a sale, but this is not a business sale as such. This is you are selling the fixed asset. So you have sale proceeds and it is 2.5 million. Now the question is, how will you account for this in your books? Since this is a disposal, you have to account for it. How will you account for it? Okay, right. So take down this example, then we will look at the accounting. Disposal of motor vehicle. Likewise, you can do it for any assets. So let's look at this. Disposal of motor vehicle, cost is 6 million, accumulated depreciation is 4.8, and you are going to sell it for 2.5 million. 2.5 million. Okay. Below that, take down. In order to account for the disposal of fixed asset, we may have to make use of a disposal account. Right. So now let's see what are the things that we need to do. Okay. So when you are doing a disposal, there are 3 steps basically. One is you have to reverse the cost. Number 2, you have to reverse the accumulated depreciation. Number 3, account for the sale proceeds. These are the 3 important steps. Once you have done these 3 steps, the 4th one will be determining profit or loss. Because when you are selling this asset, you will have to have a profit or loss. So that is what the last step. Okay. So what is the first step? Removing the cost. Removing the cost means now you have your asset which is having a debit balance. So you will have to remove that cost now, which is 6 million. So what do? You remove it from your asset account and bring it to the
disposal account. So here, step 1, your motor vehicle account. I have to write the reverse of that account. So your motor vehicle account will be 6 million.
Debit disposal account, credit your motor vehicle account. Number 2,
Step number 2, reverse the accumulated depreciation on this particular asset. So you know the accumulated depreciation is in a liability account, which is a credit balance. So you will reverse it from there, means you debit your accumulated depreciation account and credit the disposal account. Which is 4.8 million.
number 3,
Accounting for sale proceeds.
so when you receive cash, what do? You will debit cash,
Credit disposal account. We took it as 2.5 million. 0.5.
now see what is going to happen. Balancing the account. In order to determine the
Profit or loss from this
disposal, we need to balance the 2 accounts after doing the 3 steps. 1, 2, 3. What is 1, 2, 3? 1 is removing the cost from the books, because hereafter I will not have that asset, so I can't have the cost also. So I will remove it from the books. Hereafter I can't have the accumulated depreciation also, so I will remove that also, 4.8. Then I will bring in, instead of that what I got, the cash proceeds, debit cash, credit here 2.5 million. Now I will have to balance the account.
So here 7.3 million. You put 7.3 million here also, but that side is balanced. This side there is a difference. That is 1.3 million.
Now what is this 1.3 million? You debit 1.3 million here, you credit your P&L, which is known as the profit on disposal. Profit on disposal. Profit on disposal. Okay. Sometimes what happens, this could be a loss also. So this could be on this side. The balancing figure after completing the 3 steps will give you a balancing figure. If the balancing figure is on this side, it will be a profit. If it is on this side, it will be a loss. Okay. So that is all about theory on property, plant and equipment. We will do few questions on next week before we start with the new topic. And I want to cover few questions, and even on the past papers, we will do whatever the questions that have come. And then we get on with the new topic next week. Okay. So just do a revision of what we have learned. I'll spend a little bit of time on this property, plant and equipment, this being an important topic, but I don't know how it will be tested in your examination, but better for you to know it. Okay. So let's catch up next week. Please do revise this, and also we will do some questions before on this, and then we will proceed with the other topics. Okay. Right. Take care.